Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of the Agency Action Show. I'm here with my co host, Toby Crines. I'm Kurt Von Annen. And I think today we're going to start by talking about how disgusted we are with self promotion on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and also, are we missing the train? Because I don't do disgusting self-promotion, and I generally, hate disgust I hate reading it, but at the same time, the people that disgustingly self-promote are the people I know about. And so, if I'm gonna hire someone, I'm gonna hire someone I know. So, the question is whether or not you're disgusted by self-promotion or maybe, just relentless AI slop being poured on you at LinkedIn. Should we be doing that, even if we're disgusted by it?
There is so much good in LinkedIn, and there's so many positive things in being connected to LinkedIn. But I have to agree with you. The negative is a real deterrent. So I feel like some of that, and I think you and I are talking about the same thing. I don't know, maybe you need to read me an example, but I think we're talking about the same thing. To me, there's a difference between so I'll say, hey, I want to welcome our newest customer to Mañana No Mas. Here's a link to their site, right? And that's just like a boom. Hey, we did something. Here it is, right? But there's a difference between that and a 3 paragraph. Look how awesome I am. I did this. I wrote this book. I'm in this podcast. I'm doing this. This customer loves me. This is what they said about this. And it's like, oh my goodness, stop. You're patting yourself on the back so hard you're going to break your elbow. To me, there's a difference between participating in the feed and abusing people in the feed.
Right, but the question is, should you be abusing people in the feed?
No.
Why
It's the
not?
same as I use the direct messaging in LinkedIn almost like text messaging. Hey, you want to break the ice? You want to jump on a quick call? You want to this? You want to that? You don't want to? That's fine too. Have a great day. Boom, boom, boom. And I constantly get these 3 and 4 paragraph emails in my in-mail would you like to, hey, we've been studying your profile for a while and we really like the cut of your jib and we'd like to get you 12 to 15 validated clients a week. Stop sending me that crap. That's like from Hustlers University. Stop sending me that crap.
I think though, we have a rich history in probably every mass media society ever of just pummeling people with just garbage. Turn on the TV, whether it's 1962 or 2026, you just get pummeled with garbage. And LinkedIn is no exception. You go there and it's just a different garbage pile.
Do
And
you
so,
want a Foreman grill?
love the Foreman grill.
That's an example of being
Yeah.
pummeled with garbage.
Yes, exactly. You mean a grill that has a slight angle?
A grill that has a slight angle.
But what I was hearing from you is oh, I would never do that. And I'm saying, this is a rich American tradition. Like, what's wrong with this? And I don't know that anything's wrong with it. That's kind of the question. Maybe we should be doing it. Join the storm.
So this is like the hardest thing. This really is hard. So it's like I'm on 5 podcasts a week, right? So somebody could come up to me and go, "Oh my God, I don't know how you do that. Aren't you so tired of just putting yourself out there and pushing yourself on everybody like that?" And I think, no, I'm doing value-added content. I'm hearing from people they like this show, right? So on one hand, I think I'm paying it forward. On the other hand, people think I'm abusing the podcast networks by overexposing myself or spamming people through podcasts, which I know is a little bit of a stretch. But I guess it's all in perspective, right? It's like where do you like when someone says, "Oh, that guy makes too much money." Well, what's too much money? Too much money is usually $20,000 to $50,000 more than you're making. If someone came up to you and said, "Oh my gosh, you run that agency, you guys make way too much money," you'd be like, "No, I know agencies that make more." It's always a graduated scale. So the perspective is based on your participation. And that makes it really hard to draw the line.
And I think part of this, AI is changing the whole paradigm of tech. And I go what would happen? And this is part of should I be in there just pummeling people with garbage just to get my name out there? And the question is really what would happen if my main source of leads disappeared tomorrow and I have to go get leads? All of a sudden this method doesn't seem so gross because I'm I need to pay the mortgage.
This drives me back to that social experiment when the pandemic broke out. Was it How to Become a Millionaire, How to Become a Billionaire? It was some stupid show that I was addicted to, by the way. Grant Cardone was on it and a couple of other millionaire types. They took people and they said, You can't tell people your real name. You can't use your mailing list. You can't leverage your existing contacts. We're going to drop you in some small town somewhere, and your goal within 90 days is to build a $1 million valuated business in 90 days. And it was interesting because I saw people on that show do things I would never consider doing. Like, pride cometh before the fall, right? Like they did things that I think I'm too prideful to do, but they like really leveraged other people in ways that I thought seemed semi abusive. But then when you look at the outcome, they created $1 million businesses and people along the way got rewarded. At the end of the show, everybody, either they got the business given to them or split up or whatever, right? So it is interesting. What would you do if all of your leads disappeared tomorrow? There are people out there that no matter how the chips fall, no matter how negative it gets, no matter how the world seems stacked against them, they always seem to find a way, a motivation to find something, to push something to generate revenue in some way.
And I think like the moral here is that the moral is that the moral paradigm shifts when you need the money. Like that show kind of points that out. Like what seems like beyond the pale today might be palatable if I need the sale, and that's there's like some fear I have because you don't want to go too far. Like you can't picture yourself today. I couldn't picture myself posting slop to LinkedIn, but if my leads dried up, maybe I would do that. And then you go, how far? And this is more just like, something for us to bring to whatever group over beers. But like, it's like, how far would I be willing to go? If it became that desperate. There was an interview with a guy who was formerly homeless, and he was talking about being homeless. He's like, "You'd think you would never eat trash. You'd think never in your life would you go to a trash can, take
Yeah.
out some beans and eat them." And he's like, "I'm telling you." From experience, you would be happy to have those leftover beans at the bottom of the trash can.
Well, it's really freaky because there's people that do that by choice in certain urban areas. Like they've been on TV shows and stuff. We go out and we surf dumpsters for food, and it's like, holy crud. And you think I would never do that. Again, that's like that pride cometh before the fall. What else? Like, so what's worse, right? Stealing your next meal or taking leftovers out of the trash. So morality says that stealing would be worse, right? But then you're like, eating trash? I don't know. Obviously, we've gone way off the rails here with our conversation.
I
But
actually
where
think
where does the line get drawn? Getting business, building revenue, or really alienating other people with your spammy behavior?
so. LinkedIn today is a marketing platform. Can we agree on that? TV is a marketing platform. Radio is a marketing platform. Billboards are marketing platforms. I think this is historically speaking in the United States anyway, as long as the FCC allows you to say it, it's fair game, according, in TV and billboards and whatever. And I think LinkedIn's similar. Like at some point, the LinkedIn staff might push back, say you've gone too far.
Yeah.
But
It
actually,
is unique. So there was a point in time in LinkedIn where if you put like an external link in your post didn't get promoted. Like nobody would ever see it, right? And that's what started that whole put the link in the first comment trend, right? So have your post, then put the link in the first comment. And then I think LinkedIn kind of picked up on that too. So the whole idea was LinkedIn didn't want to promote content that was going to direct people to leave the platform. I mean, they want people to stay on the platform as much as possible. So then that started that whole like internal newsletter kind of trend that's in LinkedIn with you make all your content as possible to stay in the platform, go live in the platform, like that all and it makes sense. But now here's one that confuses me. They just put out a message last week that said no longer can you just go live in LinkedIn after the 20th, which is tomorrow. You're going to have to only be able to go live through scheduled lives. You're not going to be able to, you have to schedule them in advance. You can't be like a spontaneous live anymore, which I found very unique because in that, I wonder if that's really going to cut down on live presentations in LinkedIn or if they're trying to get rid of the slop.
right. Well, yeah. Yeah, I can see reasons for it. Let's keep going on this idea though. Like let's say you were at a point where your business dried up and you're like, I can't find any leads. I'm going to have to shut down the business. What would you do if you could never build another website?
I said it flippantly, but now I have myself second guessing why I'm not just doing this. Mountain biking's become more and more popular. I would probably become a mountain bike coach. It's like, hey, let's get kids on bikes. Let's get you on bikes. Let's go enjoy, let's go to the lake. Let's ride the trail together. Let's do. And I know that that sounds crazy, but I used to live in Colorado and there were people that made like six figures hosting rich people to take them hunting, and I didn't understand it because I'm not a hunter, but like I knew people that did it. And they were like, oh, yeah, people flying from all over the world. We take them out camping and we bring them food and we do this, we do that. And then they pay us like, $20,000 for the week. And I was like, that's crazy. And I think to myself, imagine if someone gave me $2,000 so I could give them a tour of the 22-mile trail at Lake Wilson. I'd be like, man, I'm doing what I love. I'm teaching someone else how to do something and I'm making money. That would be amazing.
I think that's how I got into WordPress agency world. Like I really enjoy the work, and it's not to say like after 20 years, I'm like, there are other things I enjoy now and differently, but I actually still enjoy the work. And one thing that I am finding enjoyment in my craft is embracing AI and like trying to figure out how to hammer it into WordPress because it still is not integrated with WordPress really at all, even though like WordPress core kind of has integrations. The integrations are like, have it create a new post for you. And I'm like, I can already create a post. I needed to do something interesting. I needed to create a plugin that connects like specific to my site. I have Gravity Forms here and I have, Cloudflare there. I needed to do some stuff and wire it up specific to me. And right now it can't really do that. And I'm reading up on like how to figure that. I'm figuring out that problem. Like, here's another example. If you go to any of the AI tools and say, design me a new web page for my marketing agency, it'll design something awesome that you could publish in 5 minutes with our skill set. But the problem is you can't take that design and go to WordPress and say, just build me this. Like it just doesn't work that way. And there's hacks and workarounds.
You're,
But that's
you're going to
kind
make me
of
say something crazy.
what's that?
Have you seen any of Kevin Geary's videos with how he's integrated AI into Etch?
Mm-mm.
It's literally like he goes to a website, screenshots it, and tells Etch or tells AI in Etch, make me this page and build the BEM classes and the this and the that and whatever, and boof, it magically happens. I am not proficient in Etch yet. In fact, Etch changed a lot since the last time I had used it, and I tried to use it last week and learned very quickly that I feel like I have to start all over again.
Well, that's cool. That's promising.
But I thought the same thing when I came up on WordPress 7.0 and I went to connectors. I said connectors. I thought the whole thing was interesting. Like you and I are like AI, like everybody's AI. And then when WordPress 7.0 came out, it said now you can connect to AI. And I was like, how the hell do you do that? Like, where's it at? It was like hidden in settings. You had to go to connectors. And when you got to connectors, it said connect. And then it was like, then you have to buy this extra package in Claude to connect Claude for an extra $10. And so I was like, whatever, let's do it. And then you connect and you go, well, now what? And to your point, I was like, well, this isn't interesting at all.
Right. It's like, well, do you want me to create a new post for you? Do you want me to activate a plugin for you? I'm like, no, I think I'll just click the button. Thanks.
Yeah.
Like it's easier.
I kind of know how that part works.
It's easier to click the button than to tell you to click the button.
Yeah, I kind of know how that part works. There's another person that's really killing it in the AI space with WordPress, and that is Spencer Foreman. I don't know if you've seen him on obviously the WP Tonic Roundtable show, but he does WP Launchify, where his Fernando agent does all kinds of crazy stuff with WordPress. I mean, his big thing is WordPress is the box, and then he surrounds the box with, all the stuff. And he's been leveraging AI like crazy for like 2 years. But here's something that's interesting. I find that people that do that, they get very successful in that space. So they're going to kill me. They're both going to kill me, right? Let's say that Spencer and Kevin are both in that space. They're going to think they're totally opposite people. But I'm going to tell you, like when you listen to both of them talk, they're so focused on the success of their individual projects and what they're doing. It's at a different level, right? It's almost like it's hard to listen to them, and I think people that are truly successful in the space have to become like so maniacally focused on what they're working towards to the point that they annoy everybody else.
Well, yeah, because they're
But
building
they find that path.
They're building tools, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you and I are using tools. It's a
Correct.
different conversation. And I think like in many ways, like I want their knowledge, but they need my knowledge and your knowledge because they don't we're the ones who are on the ground talking to people about what they actually need. And they're kind of building things, hoping that what they're building is what people actually need.
Yeah, I could kind of see it in that way. It's their work with AI, I think, is pretty extraordinary, right? And so when I see what they're doing, there's a part of me, I've been very reticent with AI. Like I use it all the time, but I'm very, very cautious of it. And when I see what they're doing, I go, okay, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I'm still not in 100%, but it's cool to see it. It's cool to see it work. My level of AI use is like I go to Claude and because I got really behind on a personal project, and I'm one of those people, right? If I'm not producing at a certain rate, I start to beat myself up internally. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to leverage AI to help me with this. And I told AI, I told Claude, this is my topic. This is my subject outline, and I need you to build me a Lifter LMS formatted JSON file that will become a course. And it said, oh, do you want placeholders put in place for the videos? And I was like, yeah. What? Yeah, I want all of it. And it did it. It made the whole course for me.
I love how your AI is a young Russell Crowe.
Young Russell Crowe.
It's like some Australian man.
I don't know where that comes from.
I think it's time. So I've been playing with AI in WordPress. Not I haven't used Etched, I haven't used any of the tools you're talking about, but just like trying to figure out it on my own. And we built over the last year and a half, we built a custom plugin for a school that does a ton of custom stuff, workflows specific to their use case. And I don't know, I bet you we invested, let's say 30 or 40 hours building this plugin. It's a WordPress plugin. It does everything the WordPress way. They asked for a feature just last week, and I was like, let me see what AI can do. This is in my head. And so I took that plugin and I just wired it up to AI, and I had to take some steps to do that. But once it did that, I was like, okay, now solve this or add this specific feature. And all that, wiring it up, doing it, took about, let's say, 4 hours of my time. And now it has this new feature that might have taken me an hour to build if I had done it on my own. But now we have it all wired up, and I'm like, and he has a list of 10 things he needs done. And I'm like, now I think I can just tell AI to do these 10 things. So I think for me, I'm there. I'm like, okay, team, we need to embrace AI in our workflows with WordPress, even though the tooling isn't perfect and not ideal, but I think it's time.
I think where a lot of people get lost in the conversation so I'm not arguing with you. Please don't come after me, but using your own example, right? 30 to 40 hours. Well, if your agency times $200 an hour, you spend $8,000, right? And so think about a plugin, right? How much does it cost me to buy a plugin? $100, $200, $500. Lifter LMS Infinity Bundle, $1,500. $8,000 is not cheap. And I think that's plus, the expense of the AI tool and all that stuff, right? Whatever your subscription was, whatever your AI credits were and all that stuff. So let's say maybe it's $9,000. Let's just, shoot for the moon, right? I think a lot of people struggle with, hey, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing, right? So let's start there. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. I really don't know what the outcome's going to be, but I'm going to spend $9,000 on this and see what happens, right? Kudos to you because you did it and it worked. And it gave you a foundational piece that you can build off of, right? But I think a lot of people struggle with that initial commitment, because that's the boat I'm in. The boat I'm in right now is like, okay, I'm familiar with some AI tools and I'm familiar with some things I can do for productivity, but I haven't really leveraged tools. Like I haven't built myself something that automates a process for my agency yet. Because I'm like, I don't have 30 or 40 hours to slap into something. But then I look at the benefits. Lifter LMS, and I don't want to give away too much secret sauce, but Chris at Lifter LMS, not a developer, not a coder, he's like an implementer. He's more like me than a developer, right? They've been leveraging some AI tools, and now they have a developer team, but now Chris can get an idea as the owner of Lifter LMS. He can get an idea, and he goes to this AI tool that they built, and he kind of plays with it a little bit, and then he passes it over to the developers, and he goes, this is kind of something I'd like to look at. What do you guys think? But it's because they did the investment up front, they built the tool, they got Chris up to speed, and and he loves AI anyway. Like he loves AI as much as he loves crypto, I think, because he's one of those crypto bros. And it just seems to work. And so here I am on the outside of that looking in. I'm outside looking in, and I'm going, they didn't know what the real outcome was going to be, but they made the investment and it gave them a foundational piece that they're able to build off of. And you just described the same thing. But how did you make that commitment, Toby, to go, hey, it might take us 30 or 40 hours, but let's see what happens?
Well, first of all, go back to my premise. It sounded fun. And I think like that's important as if you want to love your work as much as is possible. And I'm not saying we should all love our work, but ideally we would not hate our work. And at a worst case, my goal is to show up to work and go, that's okay. Like, and I think this AI tooling is helping me enjoy my work. So I'll start there. And so the challenge sounded fun. And what I'm not sure about moving forward, and I read someone's post on LinkedIn today where they were like, it's this like age old question. Like the reality is like stuff is going to be cheaper to build. Like that plugin that cost us 30 or 40 hours, maybe it's a 10-hour build today if we were to start fresh and do it vibe coding and all that. And, this brings back all the other conversations we've had is like, what does that mean in terms of how you should bill and what it should cost? Do the costs change? Do they not change? I don't know. And there's a lot of context to unwrap there, but that's a lot of what goes into it for me is like let's say a client's paying for it. Cause I still think like, even if someone's paying me to vibe code this app or this plugin, it's still potentially a week of work for someone, for me or another expert to like really polish it up. And maybe it's less than a week and depends on the thing, but like that's costly, and if you want me to exist as a company, even if it was just me, you need to pay for that.
Well, and that's where I get lost, right? And just being blunt, right? Because I have a contractor model. So let's say I give this to my contractor, and again, unknown result, unknown starting point, right? I'm diving in blind, but I want to build this thing, and I kind of know what it's going to be, right? Boom, and he goes, well, look, Kurt, it could take 30, 40 hours. I don't know, and I go, okay, and I go, great, let's do it. If I was doing that for a customer, so let's say I'm in like $8,000, right? I got to sell it for 10 or 12, right? What would that customer have been able to purchase for 10 or $12,000, right? Probably something that would do the job. And that's my struggle. That's kind of my struggle point. My other struggle point is what you described as being fun. I look at as anxiety. So if I vibe code something, 8, 10 hours, I vibe code something, and it's kind of like this big base thing. And then the customer says, oh, I wish it did X, Y, and Z. In my mind, like you were like, well, I just took it to AI and I said, how would we make this do X, Y, and Z? That all makes total sense. But in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I got this giant chunk of a base thing that I made, and I got to figure out what segment of that chunk is going to be the change. Like now I've got to reverse engineer this thing and try to remember or figure out where the thing is that tweaks this tool. And that's where I'm like, I could just buy an extension to a plugin.
Yeah. Well, that's one great thing about WordPress too, is that there is a fantastic plugin ecosystem that can pretty much do anything you want, at a high level.
Yeah.
And in general, I lean into that. Like I still would say, just install WordPress and use their plugins, especially if you're going to do something that requires you to use Stripe or sensitive data. Use the existing ecosystem because they've solved a lot of the security related things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like my embrace of AI is more, in terms of WordPress specifically, there's definite productivity gains that I can already see. I'm not saying I'm feeling them yet, but they're there. And that's kind of the case I outline there. Here's an example. I have a plugin I use to organize my own audio files. I write a lot of music, I record it, I put it on a website. And this plugin, I've built it over a decade or more, and it's sitting in GitHub, and every year I do a little bit. And yesterday I was using an awesome WordPress plugin I'll promote here. It's called Facet WP. And I've used it many times and it's fantastic, but it's tricky and complex. And, it adds a lot of weight to a site, let's say. And I went to ChatGPT to Claude Code. I was like, okay, here's my plugin. And it took me an hour to set up the environment and like to teach Claude how to access the plugin correctly. But once I did that, now there's a document that explains the Claude each time. Once I did that, then I was like, I don't want to use Facet WP anymore. So do it with plain JavaScript, but do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it did it. It literally like extracted all the functionality. It didn't use any of, well, I don't know actually, but it probably didn't use any of Facet WP's code, honestly. Like that's my guess, is that it did not reuse any code. It just said, okay, there's a select to box. Like, it went and got that library and it looks different now, but it functions the same. I didn't go back and review all the code. I kind of see the structure. I kind of get how it structured it, but I'm like, yeah, I'm confident enough in this result that like I don't need to review this code. It's not doing anything sensitive. It's a personal site. So I don't know. When I think of embracing AI, that's where I'm at. Like I'm inching my way in. There's some real interesting gains potentially as an agency owner that I see.
So I want to do this, and I'm looking at our time, and I think we've got enough time to cover this. We're talking about AI, right? How to commit, how to leverage, how to do, how to implement. But at the end of the day, you and your team need tools to make this crap happen, right? So this is like so. I'm a big proponent of Magi. I use Magi, get access to all these different AI channels, right? So Nana Banana, blah, blah, because I need to sample a bunch of them. I'm not an expert in any one of them. So I'm like, give me a platform where I can sample all of them and try different tools for different things. But I'm friends with developers that are like, well, I have VS Code, I've got Cursor, I've got Claude Code, some kind of Claw thing. Like it just goes on and on. In your opinion, who's responsible to have the tools?
I think plumbers bring their own tools, electricians bring their own tools. As you know, mechanics bring their own tools. If you're a professional, you bring your tools. Whatever tools that you're going to be using, you're a professional. Bring your tools. Or are you not a professional? Are you an entry level person who's like, what tools do I need? Give me your
Yeah.
tools. You provide, you could be that's what an entry level person does. They go, "Oh, I need tools. What tools do I need? Are you going to buy them for me?"
I think that is incredibly insightful because there are entry level people, right? There's people fresh out of college that are like, crap, I've never had a job before, right? Hey, what does this look like? And let's just use round numbers, right? Because no matter where someone's listening to this in the world, it's going to sound different or hokey, right? But let's say entry level's $20 an hour, but at $20, you're giving them, you're sharing your subscription, you're giving them their own account to something, you're supplying them with some assets to produce and do some work. But if someone's coming to me and they want $35, $40 an hour, right? I expect that I'm going to be able to give them tasks and they're going to be able to give me completed product. Like boom. And let's be clear, in the space here in the States, I mean, I've subcontracted people that get 110, 120, $130 an hour, right? But those people, if I'm going to hire them, I don't have to supply anything. I say, here's the task, here's what I need executed, and I get something finished. But if I'm looking to save budget or to give someone a boost, like I have that apprentice program. So I'm looking to give a lot of people a boost through that. And people that graduate our apprentice program, they actually get free software for a year. We've lined up some premium plugins where we say, hey, you get the first year for free to go launch your own agency without having to capitalize it, right? So when it comes to the tool thing, even in that position, I'm like, if you graduate the apprentice program, you're getting these tools. They're your tools, and then you'll take them to your next tasks, right? And then when that year's up, it's expected that they're going to subscribe and, float that expense themselves.
I think like professionals need professional tools, whatever that means to you and you listener, I mean. And so I fix guitars. This is an example. I have some nice tools and some crappy Amazon tools for that. And the reality is that like the professional grade tools work way better, last way longer. If I were doing more than 3 guitars a year, I would probably upgrade all the tools. And it kind of bothers me whether you're talking to Fiverr or elsewhere when people purporting to be professionals show up without the tools.
Or weird low shelf tools.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
so again, not the AI expert everyone expects me to be. When I'm shopping in Magi for what tool I want to use, it says right on the side what the credit cost is going to be, right? So is this going to bill at a 1.1? Is this going to bill at a 2.1? Is this going to bill at a 0.5, right? And so it tells me the value of each of those tools that I'm using. And there are some people that will say, "Oh, yeah, I'm an AI expert." But they're not subscribed to any legit mainstream AI tool. They're like on, Pixa or something like that. They've got some lifetime deal they bought on some extraneous third-party AI thing. And it's
Mhm.
like, and they give you can tell when you get the content because you get the content and you're like, what the heck is this? And they're like, well, I have edited it for you. No, you haven't. This is horrible.
All right. Let's wrap up. We're about at time here. I wanted to promote something that our boss, Matt, our
Hey,
boss,
boss.
I heard, yeah, anyway, our boss, Matt Medeiros, who owns the agency Action brand, I guess, who we report to regularly and who demands virtually nothing out of us.
I was going to say, we got to clock in, we got to
Yeah.
clock out. My cubicle's a mess.
He created this awesome, fun game. It's called agencyactionpodcast.com. You go there and you have to guess who said it. Did I say it or did Kurt say it? Did Kurt say it or did Toby say it? And then it's like kind of a neat little tool where you can kind of learn a bit. And it's kind of like a highlight reel of our podcast. So really cool. Wanted to promote that. Also, if you're out there in the world and you have an idea of something we can talk about, please leave a comment in whatever place you're listening or wherever you find us. Speaking of which, Kurt, where can we find you?
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. The good thing we opened up the show talking about the crime of LinkedIn. I'm the only Kurt Von on in there. I'm easy to find. My agency name is also Mañana No Mas, and you can find me on all the social channels by that name.
Great. And I'm Toby Crines. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. Last name is Cryns. It's true. There's not a Toby. You never found a Toby you didn't like. So I'm also at themightymo.com. We do WordPress design, development, SEO. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining the Agency Action.